Welcome back. If you just joined us, it is Daybreak Africa, and we're about to begin our discussion today. And I'm glad to let you know that our guest is in the studio. But before then, now, when the present president of Nigeria, in his first speech, removed fuel subsidy, it came as a shock beyond surprise to Nigerians. A lot of analysts saw it as a political risk, but down the line, we've all come to say that beside that decision being a political risk, it has become an economic risk going by the situation in the country today. NNPC gives us different figures. IPMAN gives us a different figure, and of course Nigerians, like was said at the beginning, are at the receiving end. Only recently, IPMAN called an emergency meeting to discuss the review of the fuel pump price. Now, the irony of that decision is that a lot of marketers, or some marketers, or let me rephrase, while some marketers are calling for a reduction in review, some are calling for an increment. To discuss our topic today, review of fuel pump price, NNPCL, IPMAN versus Nigerians, matters arising. We have a guest in the house. He is Dr. Edgar Amuho, is a lecturer as well as a social analyst. Dr. Amuho Edgar has an MBA degree in addition to a PhD in chemistry. He is a former HOD, Chemistry Department at DME Federal University of Education, right here in Ondo State. We appreciate you on the show today.
You're welcome. I'm delighted to be invited to your studio.
So, we can't begin this discussion without starting from the reason why the discussion is at hand, which is the subsidy removal by the present leader of Nigeria, Tinubu. A lot of people have reacted to that situation in the country. Ironically, there are a lot of people who agree with the policy. There are those that are so staunch about it and believe that there's still light at the end of the tunnel, where there are others who say it was the wrong move at the wrong time. I would want to get your sentiment on that announcement. Where were you when that announcement was made? What is your approach to that announcement, and how do you think that announcement has affected Nigerians so far?
Well, thank you so much. Sometimes when you deal with issues or situations that are diffuse, when I mean things are diffuse, they are not things so tangible you can easily see. So when you are confronted with situations like this, you try to reach a sensible position by using logic. Okay? Logic is, let's reason it together and let us see why this is probably this, why this is probably that. Like you asked, yes, I was in Nigeria in my room. I was watching television when the president, just immediately after his inauguration, how do I want to put it? Reviewed. Yeah. When we use the word review, actually we are saying that something had been, okay? But can we look at it again? That is what review actually means. Now, when you look at something and you decide to take it up, that is telling us where the thing was before was not ideal or adequate. So, when you say fuel price increment, guess, note, kerosene is fuel, cooking gas is fuel, diesel is fuel, yes or no?
Yes.
Good. The action of the president, did it affect kerosene, diesel, gas? No. Now, let me refresh our memory. Prior to that, diesel was already selling for about 1,400 naira per liter. Kerosene was selling for 1,200 per liter, and gas perhaps 850 naira. Yeah, if that much I have said, you agreed with me. Before the president came into office, the price of petrol was around 285 naira. Are we together? Yes. So why is it that petrol is 285, diesel is 1,400, kerosene is 1,2, gas is about 850? Something is wrong somewhere. Why? Because all these four products, they are coming from the same father. Gas is the first child. Petrol is the second child from the father. Kerosene is the third, and diesel is the fourth. When you refine crude oil, the gas comes out first, petrol follows, kerosene follow, and then finally diesel. So, when we look at the scenario, it will look as if, prior to Tinubu coming on board, the other three commodities have been deregulated. And that is why we're buying them at that price. Now, the president coming in looked at it and said, no, I am sure, let me tell you, I don't think we've had the last on this issue of petroleum review, because ordinarily, the price of PMS should be close to the price of cooking gas, the price of kerosene, or the price of... I think we have not had the last on this issue. Why am I saying so? Prior to now, some people have said and even accused the president that the president is not being honest, that he's still paying subsidy on PMS. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. Why are they saying so? Because they feel that even where the PMS is, it's not where it should be. Now, probably, like I said, we are going to use a lot of logic. Probably the president, in his wisdom, felt that taking the PMS to where it actually should be at once would be a disaster. Because I cannot imagine a man who Nigerians voted for on his first day of office willfully decide to inflict pains on them. Yeah, willfully on the first day in office. I think there are real economic issues that would have informed that decision. And let me add something that may make you to think a little. Prior to this price adjustment, there had been issues, cries from sundry corners. Is there fuel subsidy? Some say there is no fuel subsidy, some say there is fuel subsidy. Well, from the little I have said now, 285 to 1,002, that tells you something. Secondly, all the petroleum products that are coming into the country, there's a place where they are received. There's a big tank farm. It's a jetty. We call it the Atlas Cove. You probably have not heard of it. No, somewhere in Takwa Bay, your papa has this. Big tank farms. All the petroleum products that come into the country, they are received there. And then from there, NNPC distributes them. For instance, imagine a trailer that is loaded in Apapa going to Mile 2 in Lagos. Apapa Mile 2 is probably 30 minutes if there is no traffic. The one going to Badagry or the one coming to Ojota, a trailer loaded with petrol. And the one going from that place to Abuja, the one going to Port Harcourt, not to talk of the one going to Kaduna or Sokoto. And yet, the government said the price of petrol must be 300 naira. In Abuja, it must be 300 naira. In Lokoja, it must be 300 naira. In Sokoto, it must be 300 naira in Port Harcourt. And they got it from the same place. And the cost of transportation is much, much different. Probably hiring a trailer from Lagos to Sokoto, probably 350. The same trailer loading to Apapa, how much do you think that will be? 30,000? So who bears the difference in cost? Why is government saying sell the petrol at the same price? That is what we call Petroleum Equalization Fund. To make sure that the price of the commodity is uniform across the country. Okay. Who is bearing that cost? It is the federal government. You may not know, but that was a huge subsidy. Where it is probably being abused is there could be dubious claims of some people saying we ferried 20 tankers to Maiduguri, we ferried 50 to Sokoto, where that may not be the case.
This brings us to our next question. Now, we know for a fact there's some sort of dispute or conflict between IPMAN, NNPCL, and the government as regarding fuel pricing and subsidy. What then becomes your reaction? What do you think is more like, you actually talk about more like the evolution of this problem, but is it more like the major issue, and how can this dispute be settled amicably among these three parties involved?
Right, thank you. Like I said, that when you are faced with issues like this, that most times we try to use logic. NNPC, in the first place, had been a sleeping corporation. I make bold to say this.
Why would you say that?
Yes. It is only recently, that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation of Nigeria find it or deem it fit to have a marketing outlet, and they started establishing filling stations. You can bear me witness with that. Only recently. Look at companies like Total. They've been in Nigeria since we have been growing up. It's a French oil company. Look at a company like Texaco. We grew up knowing them, owning filling stations across Nigeria.
Mobile,
Elf, Agip, an Italian company. NNPC as a corporation ought to also have had filling stations in other countries of the world. If not in Europe and in America, but at least the West Africa axis and the whole of Africa. But they have been sleeping. So, why am I saying this? The question you asked, let me go and address it. Are you aware that a liter of petrol, as at yesterday, in the United States is about 70 cents, which is, are you with me? $0.7. If you convert what $0.7 is, at our current exchange rate, you will find out that the petrol in Nigeria is still cheaper than the way it is in the United States. Not only that, I can also tell you that petrol in the United Kingdom, as at yesterday, is selling for about £0.5 per a liter of petrol. As at today, the pound sterling exchanged for 1,930 naira. So half a pound of it will be like about 900 and probably 80 naira. Still better than what we are buying.
Your point is?
My point is, probably, like I mentioned before, the price of petrol in Nigeria, we have not had the last of it. That is what I'm saying, in effect. Yeah. if I can give you another insight that may probably shock you. As of today, a barrel of crude oil is $88. Are you with me? A barrel is 159 liters of crude oil. And there is that aspect of what we call petroleum economics. And I tried to look at it yesterday. When I tried to look at it, yes, if I refine a barrel, are you with me, of crude oil, I'm going to get 73 liters of petrol from it. That is the standard all over the world. I am going to get 36 liters of diesel. I'm going to get 20 of kerosene. I am going to get 8 kilograms of gas from 1 barrel of crude oil. The remaining ones, spindle oil, coal tar. Are you with me?
Now, yes. Let him give us the analysis.
When I did the petroleum economics yesterday, if you sell all the products from 1 barrel of crude oil at the current price we are selling there in Nigeria, then the remaining 3 sell as also price. When I add it up, what you are getting from the sale of the product is not equal to $88.
Is equal to what?
Yes, in Naira. There is a shortfall of about 8,000 Naira. Meaning that, now, in spite of that, the cost of refining has not been factored in. The cost of transporting these finished products from one point to point has not been factored in, which is telling me somehow.
Insurance?
Yes, insurance has not. Telling me somehow that somehow the government is still subsidizing petrol. Now, the real issue, as it comes from the bottom of my mind, is the exchange rate. Are you with me? If, for instance, the exchange rate was 10 Naira to $1, and you buy your petrol for half a Naira and convert it, you will find that will be okay. But the issue, because crude oil is an international product, which is being bought in dollars. So I don't know how, after you refine, or for instance, it was obvious that probably for the past 4 years, you will agree with me that the Nigerian refineries have not been working.
Beyond 4 years?
Yes. So we have been importing. I don't know how the government has been doing it. Either you pay for the crude in dollars, they refine it, or they bring it here, or you ship crude to them, then they give you the products back. I don't know. And you will also bear with me that at a stage when there was acute fuel scarcity, the blames were put on NNPC that they don't have the capacity to import enough, hence the fuel scarcity, and then government decided to open the windows for other major marketers
to come in. Now, Ezekiel, so the question you wanted to ask.
Now, considering all these regularities you did mention, I still want to ask, what then becomes the equilibrium point for this various entity? What becomes their meeting point, the point where they will be all agreeable? Is there ever a point as that? Or is it more like this irregularity just going to go on and on and on?
Okay.
Till infinity?
Infinity. As we
well, thank you so much. Before I answer that question, when I saw the topic NNPCL, I first of all asked myself, what is the L doing there? Yes. The L means a limited liability company. When a company is limited liability, that means outsiders, individuals can come and buy share. in that company. And that is my understanding, and that's what my basic economics tells me. Are you privatizing NNPC? That is number one. I will tell you, China also have an oil corporation, and it's just simply China Oil Corporation. No equity from any other person outside. Note, sir, take this. You can check on it when you live here. The third richest company in the world. The third richest what? Company in the world is Aramco. You know, Aramco is the Saudi Arabian Oil Corporation. Nobody has equity there. It is being run by the government.
Solely
By
the government.
Yes.
For the people.
For the people. Ezekiel, this issue of Nigeria crude oil, we have so much crude oil. Are you aware? Let me tell you, Saudi Arabia every day brings from the ground 12 million barrels of crude oil. Every day. And Nigeria, if we are lucky, 2 million a day. That is ratio 1 to 6 or 6 to 1. And then you tell us that we have crude oil, that we have plenty of money. A topic for another day, perhaps. But your question is, please come again.
Is there ever going to be a meeting point
Yes.
between these three entities?
Okay,
IPMAN,
yes.
NNPCL?
No, it's okay. I know that is why I veered off into NNPC becoming limited. Then when you look at IPMAN, you can safely divide it into two portions. One portion is that for the major marketers. Are you with me? People like the Bovas, Ebirano, MROS, and the rest of them. Then the other ones, they are the small marketers. You see the point you raised, that some of them were agitating for the price to come down. Others were agitating for the price to go up. I happen to have a friend who is a marketer, but he's a minor marketer. And he tells me, my brother, business is not as usual again. For us to carry one tanker of PMS, probably being sold at NNPC at about 600 naira per liter, you need 18 million. Just check it. 30 times 600 naira per liter. That is 18 million. Say, how many of us can raise that kind of money? So sometimes 3 of them will come together.
To get the money?
Yes, raise 6 million. They go and carry one tanker. And when they come, they share it equally and be selling in their different filling stations. Those group, we want the price to be reviewed down so that business will be more friendly and favorable to them. The second group, the major marketers, irrespective of how much they are selling the petrol at the depot, some of them can buy 5 trailers a day. What they are worried about is their profit margin.
The price.
Okay? Now, the last petrol I bought was 690 for my car. Yesterday, I have to call my friend. He was my university schoolmate. He's based in Abuja. How much is petrol being sold in Abuja? He said about 710. He said, but at an NNPC filling station, you can get it for 618 naira. Are you getting it? Every NNPC filling station that you drive into is 618. Good. Which probably tells me that these people may be right, that the ex-depot price for the PMS is around 600 per liter. NNPC is not actually designed to make profit like the private sector. So what they could be doing is, it's a part of community service. So they will rather sell with a little margin, at least to be able to pay salaries of their employees there. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, those people agitating for an increase in price of EMS, they have multiple filling stations here and there. And no doubt they are paying wages to the workers who are working for them. Not only that, when they have multiple pumps working, maybe 3-4 pumps in the filling station, in a real major filling station, you find out that Nigeria electricity, like we discussed technology the other day, and I told you that electricity started really taking charge around 1850. Where are we today in electricity? I am sure if your studio were running on diesel to power this equipment, there would be a lot of problems.
No, ironically, just only recently we stopped using diesel.
Yes.
We've been running the company on diesel for years. We've been running the company on diesel.
Is it profitable?
No, not profitable. Now, I really want to just come in here, talking about price control and talking about subsidy. While I was doing the research, I was surprised to learn that we've had the situation of subsidy since the 1970s, although most Nigerians didn't know that subsidy was introduced as way back as the 1970s. It was a huge shock to me to discover that this talk about subsidy did not even start yesterday. It is something that has been within us, within the government since the 70s. And of course, during my research, I discovered that in 1977, the then regime of Obasanjo introduced Price Control Act, which was to help reduce inflation in Nigeria. As we discuss price review, as we discuss subsidy or no subsidy, again, I can't fail to refer to the fact that the IMF before now has really accused this government of still paying subsidy because, like you rightly said, and they say the numbers do not balance. If you say that you remove subsidy and the landing cost is at this price, and the filling NNPC is selling at this price, and the filling stations are selling at this price, then there is a disparity, there is no balance. So continuously it has been back and forth. So what about price control for fuel subsidy? Again, we're taking a look at the negative impact of subsidy removal as we go along.
Yes, let me begin by saying that all over the world, there are two major items that governments all over the world subsidize. The first one is food. Are you with me? The second one is pharmaceutical products. Pharmaceutical products. You can imagine, since some of the pharmaceutical companies left Nigeria, drugs that we used to buy 1,500, they have been sold for 6,000 now. Our prayers is
and above,
and we don't fall sick. But on the issue of subsidizing petrol, is a commodity for every Nigerian. Especially if you look at population distribution in the world, especially for Nigeria and some African countries, it gave us the picture that 50% of the population of Nigeria live in urban cities and the remaining 50% in the rural areas. The people in the rural areas, yes, most of them don't even need kerosene to cook. They don't need gas to cook. Most of them, typically my typical village, I don't think of anybody who uses a diesel generator at most. Are you with me? Yeah. But in the urban areas, yes, that is where the demand for these products actually are. And if we have mentioned before that Nigeria as a country has a population of over 200 million. Let's put it at 200 million. And 100 million of them, they are in the urban centers, like me and you. And only God knows how much of petrol and kerosene that each of us consume daily, do you think the government can cope with subsidizing these products? My answer is no. Secondly, the government agreeing that yes, Nigerians are groaning as a result of the removal of petroleum products, with the NLC on one side telling the federal government jack up the salaries. I happen to be a federal worker. If the salaries go up, I will be a beneficiary. What about my brothers and sisters who are not working with the federal government? How are they going to wither this storm of inflation in the country? The removal of the petrol subsidy no doubt had visually affected the price of everything. If you imagine that the woman who is even grinding tomatoes and pepper with an engine is using petrol to power it. The people in the hairdressing salon with small generators.
Every sector.
Every sector. Motorcycles, cars.
Keke Marua.
So, Keke Marua. So, me typically, daily, I use average of 2,500 petrol because my place to my workplace and back is not too far. But there are people who don't have cars. They even spend more than me because they take bike from year to year, 700 naira. They drop, they go to another, and the end of the day, some of them are spending more than 3,000.
Well, we need to take a short break. I know that my guest is raring to go, as you can see from my guest handling of the topic today. But I know there are people waiting for the latest Go Start Business today. So we'll take a short break to sip a little bit of water, and we'll bring you our Go Start for today. When we return, the good thing is our guest will still be here as we discuss on the topic today. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Ezekiel, our guest, is still here, yes, and we're about to continue with our discussion. Dr. Amuho is still here as we talk on the review of fuel pump price. Yes, NNPCL, IPMAN versus Nigerians, matters arising. So Ezekiel, I know you want to go.
Of course. Currently we have IPMAN threatening a strike. In fact, this strike has been over time. We had somewhere, I think somewhere in June, June rather, we're in July. Somewhere in June, I think mid-June, they threatened the strike, and it's still ongoing. I tend to wonder, is this action justified, and what are the implications for this strike in Nigeria at this point?
Yeah, if you ask me, I will tell you that the action is not justified.
Okay.
And the implications will be very grave. It will only increase the pains and hardship which Nigerians are currently going through. So, like I was trying to say before we went on the short break, that I do not think, because NLC also has been gearing up to go on strike, I do not think the issue of increasing wages is the answer.
Why not?
Rather,
because we've been hearing that from a lot of sources, that increasing the wages or the wage of workers is not a solution. I'm happy that you're here today, that you now delved into that. Good. Explain further, please.
Good.
Why?
Increasing the wages of workers, you are putting more money into circulation, into the economy. And when you look at the laws of demand and supply, okay? When there's too much money in circulation chasing a few goods, what happens?
But the laws of economics don't apply in the Nigerian system.
We should still go by them, since they're international laws. Are you with me, man? We should still go by those laws. So, rather, what I was trying to say is, let the government, like you said before you went on break, you were talking of the Price Control Act.
Yes.
The Price Control Act, the intention was to handle inflation. If government can say, let this be this, let this be this, so people don't go beyond that. If there's any way government in this country can help to reduce the inflation, then we are home. Imagine, by 1996, my brother bought a Toyota Corolla liftback for 280,000. The same car probably today is going for about 8 million. Are we better off, really? You have, say, your salary is so big, but it cannot achieve anything. So I think the issue should be inflation. When you see prices of cement skyrocketing a few months ago, that the manufacturers and government have to dialogue before they can reach where it is now, is basically the cost of manufacturing. Diesel. Are you with me? Let me come in somewhere again. Look at the price of frozen foods. When we call what we call ice fish, it's in the market. Do you know? the prices are way out now. Do you know why? Because the fishing trawlers, those trawlers, they are ships that go into the sea to fish. They are using diesel.
What about tomatoes? What about pepper? What about okra? What about yam? A tube of yam is going for 6,000, 7,000 for one tuber. Something we used to buy for 500 naira. It's the rippling effect. In fact, is a tsunami.
Good. So that's why
it's a tsunami.
That's
not
why
ripples
I say that
anymore.
the issue is for government to see how it can control inflation. But the government does not have a tomato, a pepper farm, or a yam farm, for instance. But if we're talking of grains, beans, rice, maize, government have silos.
Which is still questionable. But to our next question, if we want to talk about the government silos, we really have to talk a very long while. Now, indeed, you made mention of a very valid point, saying we need not increase the minimum wage. Many believe if we must increase the minimum wage, it has to have with our level of internal productivity. We need to produce more in order to have this balance. Which brings me to my next question. Given the current economic situation, is it wise to reverse the fuel price increase currently?
If I may add to that, a lot of analysts too have argued that if the current announcement, or the announcement that was made in May 2023, the removal of subsidy, has thrown the country into this economic quagmire, that it is possible for the president to say, I gave this policy in good judgment, good faith, good light, but now it has turned the country economically into this phase that we are at right now, that it can come out and change it and say, this is what I wanted to do, it didn't work out, let's go back to status quo. If you merge that with the question that Ezekiel just asked, with the present situation in the country, is it impossible, or is it something that is doable? Because again, we've seen situation where fuel subsidy has been removed and returned when conditions became unfavorable in certain other climes. Is it something that is impossible going by the Nigerian factor, or is something that is doable?
Yeah,
let me see
whether I can make any sense out of it. Number one, the fuel subsidy was removed, like I said, day one the president came into office. You find out that the prices of goods didn't just start increasing that day. As I speak with you now, even something that you bought today, if you go next week.
By the next day.
Good. So the major driving force to me, I think, of this inflation is the exchange rate. That is one of my personal opinion. Number two, for instance, if the refineries in Nigeria were working, it could bring down the price of this PMS and the petroleum products we are talking about. Because to a large extent, those costs of refining, of shipping them in, will not be there. And I probably believe if the 4 refineries in Nigeria are working, if the petrol can even drop from where it is today, 690, let's suppose it drops to 450, 400, you will see the ripple effect in other sectors of the economy. But like you said, whether it is possible for the government
to reverse.
Adults, yeah, like you and I, we find it difficult to reverse some situations even when we make mistakes, not to talk of a government. The implication is the government is experimenting. Like we scientists, we do experiment to see. Are you with me? So that is not likely to be. Right, let the president, what he needs to do is to keep encouraging, talking to Nigerians, that as far as the issue of petrol is concerned, our refineries are coming on stream. Are you with me? And the natural forces of economics, we have to.
When you have more, prices are supposed to go down.
Sure.
So, but when commodities, when we have more commodities in the system, according to Nigerian laws, once price go up, price don't come down. Now, talking about the refineries, let's use the Dangote refinery as an example, as it were. Let's talk about diesel price. Before Dangote came online, it was 1,700, and when he started, when he started producing and being effective, it's crashed to 1,200. So still talking about price control and talking about the refineries working, even Koran has said that if we have more products in the market, prices will come down. And Koran also used the Dangote situation as a yardstick or as an example for that. And they referred same to fuel, to PMS, which we call petrol, which we use for our cars. Again, the talk about our refineries being moribund, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars are earmarked government by government, year in, year out, for the refineries to work. But again, the refineries are not working. The refineries are not working. And Nigerians are at the receiving end of whatever decision or policy involving this is done. So how do we get our refineries working? The money spent on the refineries, how do we, refineries that are being repaired and are not working, who takes the blame for that? How do we get the monies back? Like Emmanuel asked, till infinity, are we going to remain this way as a people? The refineries are not working. We don't have enough products, so there is no proper price control. Policies here today, policies tomorrow. At the end of the day, the Nigerian people are at the receiving end. How do we change the story?
Yes, ma, thank you very much. The story, to a large extent, is sad and pathetic. When you put round pegs in round holes, they fit, there's alignment. Square pegs in round holes, they won't fit. I don't know how, if a president should appoint a minister of petroleum who read classics. You know what classics is?
It's an old course.
This Shakespearean
Yes,
English.
yes.
To be a minister of petroleum. Subsequently, other ministers of petroleum, I don't want to go into the memory lane. You find out that there is hardly been anyone who is a core scientist or a core engineer. Warri Refinery, it might interest you that I worked there for 5 years. Warri Refinery.
While it was operational?
Yes! I worked there before I went to the university for 5 years. We were running that refinery until all the storage tanks are full. Then they will tell us from the control room, shut down the plant. All the tanks will be full with products. They will call us, shut down the plant. We will shut down the plant. Sometimes for the next 2 weeks. We just go there, we take tea, eat meat pie throughout the day for 2 weeks. When the levels of the tank is coming down, they call us again, start the refinery. That was how things were in those days. I may do well to tell you that 70% of the Warri Refinery, that's where I worked, so I can talk a little about it, was built by the Italians. Okay? SNAM project. And then one part of it, let's say the remaining 30%, was built by the Americans, Kellogg's. Normally, a refinery that was built, commissioned by Obasanjo in 1977. How many years now? It's the refinery. The refinery should still be in operation. So good too, when the contractors have finished this, the constructing the refinery, sign an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with those who built the refineries. Probably for the next 50 years, you will still be the one
to service it.
To service it. But if you didn't do that, and then at some point you started bringing in local contractors. Yeah, I'm not saying we should not encourage our local contractors, but there are some technologies that are specific. Are you with me? Good. Now, you have this thing done by the Italians. At some stage, you say, okay, you want to rephase, and then you now bring the Japanese to rephase. A case in point, I must tell you, Ajaokuta Steel. You know the story of Ajaokuta Steel? Since 1982, it came on the drawing board. It is still there. They gave it to the Russians to construct. Are you with me? After the Russians, it went to another group. After those group, now the Indians are there. As at 2 days ago, the Indians said they have spent about, is it 22 million US dollars? And that they want to leave. So, all of these issues, these issues, they are management issues. They are real management issues. I wish some of us have the opportunity to have a say.
Now, you did mention certain abnormalities as regarding NNPCL. You question it being a limited liability company, and I tend to wonder, so many other persons have tend to accuse them of being inefficient, accuse NNPCL of corruption, and all that. Do you share in that sentiment, in that view of their inefficiency and corruption status?
Well, if you ask me, in course of this interview, I've mentioned before that NNPCL have been sleeping.
Which is not exactly a corruption status, so...
It's inefficiency. When I say corporation that has been existing for so long, did not deem it marketing their products.
You know, there's a difference between NNPC and NNPCL now. So are we talking about the old NNPC?
I'm talking of NNPC, yes.
Okay.
Nothing has changed with the air, apart from the letterhead, probably, because they have also not floated any shares for us, people outside, to buy. Like I said, I told you of the China Oil Corporation in this, and I told you of Aramco, the Saudi Arabia, which I said is the third richest company in the world. There is no reason why NNPC, at this stage, they tell you that they are going bankrupt. They don't this, they are that, they are that. No, I see some inefficiency in the management of NNPC. Let me give you another case in point. If I tell you that there is a pipeline network running from the time we have 19 states in this country. Obasanjo created 6 states, is it 12 plus, to make it 19. And when Obasanjo was president, he had this vision that each of the states must have a depot, petroleum depot. You see the one at Ore? Yes. All those 19 states then, Kwara, has its own. Benin has its own. Ogun has its own. They were existing. And Kaduna and the rest. And the president said, let us link all these depots. The depots are there to hold petroleum products, kerosene, diesel. Let's link them with pipelines. So all the states, they are linked. So we did not, so that we don't need trailers and tankers to be carrying petrol from Lagos, from Warri, from Port Harcourt to different places. These are the things spoiling our roads. The roads are not designed to take that kind of traffic. But you will also bear with me that before the refineries collapse, the pipelines they are talking of, the vandalized pipeline today, they vandalized this. So because of vandalization, they started using trailers. NNPC is a corporation. If they know their onions, they know what they are doing. There's nothing wrong in NNPC buying like 4 or 5 surveillance helicopters. A helicopter will take one pipeline, for instance, from Shagamu to Warri in 30 minutes. Maybe rest, another 20 minutes, come back. The other ones go like this. Pipeline vandalism will not be there. But, well, so let me stop at that point.
Of course. We really have to run down a lot of talks before our time finally runs out. Now, you made a mention of the fact that IPMAN strike is not justified at all. I think, do you think IPMAN are working for the interest of Nigerians? And what then becomes the role of IPMAN in fuel supply chain?
Honestly, if we're supply chain, they are middlemen. We are the consumers. NNPC is the main distributor. So they are middlemen. And I think that all middlemen, they desire a profit. If they are not getting their profit, that is a different thing.
That doesn't mean they're not working for the interest of Nigerians.
They are working.
But it was more like that strike is not justified. So yes. It's more like they're doing nothing.
Because sincerely speaking, if I know exactly the reasons why they want to go on strike, if, for instance, some of them before were participating in importation of petrol, some of them were benefiting from fuel subsidy. And now these things are no more there. Don't you think that some kind of sentiments and feelings could be generated? But let them come forward. Let us know. Like I said, the objective of every businessman is to make some little profit. Is it that the amount NNPC is selling to them at the depot does not leave them with a margin? I looked at it. When I started, I told you that at NNPC filling station, the petrol is 618. I said so. which I said probably makes some of us to deduce that NNPC ex-depot probably 600. Now, if IPMAN members are selling 690, 700, that is a margin of about 80 naira. That margin of about 80 naira, you spread it on 30,000 liters. It includes the cost of transportation, the cost of paying workers in the filling station, and then the cost of...
There's foreign pricing, there's insurance, and there are other charges.
Yes, that are there. So if they are coming to say that, yes, the profit margin is not enough, because especially most of the time you go there, there's no electricity to sell the fuel. They have to be running generators, which are diesel generators. So all of this is eating into the profit. But if they come and say, this is our situation, this is our analysis, at least government can look at it objectively and say, okay, maybe can we give them a little thing on top?
Well, time. For that reason, there's a need for us to talk about oil theft. We'll probably ask you to come again to help us talk about it, because we cannot exhaust this discussion today. So we're going to spill it over and take a look at black market mercenaries or black market merchants and illegal refineries, and of course oil theft and its effect on the economy. Time is not our friend. This is where we have to stop our discussion today, but we promise to bring our guest again as we continue on this line of thought. We want to thank Dr. Amuho for being our guest on Daybreak today. We appreciate you once again.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted for the honor.
Thank you. So, we've done the talking. It's time for sports. I'm looking forward to our sports analysis today. We don't want you to go anywhere. This is the new Daybreak. Just sit back as we bring you sports. Welcome back. That was sports today, and it's always fun watching our sports package on the show. I don't know about you, but for me right here, I love sports a lot, and any opportunity to carry along on the sporting adventure all through the world, be it Nigerian sports or globally, we are here to, do justice to that. It's all for you at the end of the day.
Personally, I guess I can't wait for the Premier League to start. Like I said, I'm a fan of Manchester United. Of course, the Euros is going just fine, Copa America, well, beautiful. We have Nigeria struggling to qualify for AFCON and World Cup and all that. But I just can't wait for the Premier League, English Premier League, to just commence. That's for me.
So what's your favorite club?
I just said it, Manchester United.
Manchester, yes. I wasn't listening. Me, I'm always on the winning team.
Really?
Yes. I always go with the team that is winning.
Now you're going to sound like my mom.
That's just it. I love football, but really don't have the time to go into the nitty-gritty. But when I have the chance, I really do follow football. But I think football, like I said, and track and field, my favorite. I love wrestling too. I love wrestling.
Support Manchester United. You won't regret it. I assure you.
All right, if you say so. Well, this is where we draw the curtain on the show today. For me, I've had a wonderful time. I guess very emotional Niger Delta man, where I come from too. We produce the oil. Okay, I'm getting off track. Thanks for watching the show. I am Anire Binitie. Stay safe and bye for now.
You have a great day ahead. I remain Ezekiel Ogar.